The danger of perfection paralysis. Why done is better than perfect for overcoming anxiety. Anxiety loves to masquerade as a virtue, and its favorite disguise is perfectionism. We often find ourselves completely stuck when faced with a task, whether it's a complex report or data analysis at work, tidying up the house, debugging code that refuses to run, or starting a new personal project. We become so fixated on doing everything perfectly, following the ideal script, leaving no room for error, and ensuring an impeccable finish, that our minds simply short-circuit. The bar is set so high that, subconsciously, we adopt the attitude, if I can't do it perfectly, I'd rather not do it at all. The problem is that this mechanism isn't about diligence, care, or high standards. It is pure paralysis. And that is definitely not how real life works. An obsession with reaching the pinnacle prevents us from taking the first step, turning our daily routines, homes, and workplaces into environments of suffocating pressure. To overcome this inertia and calm our minds, we need to reclaim the right to take things slowly, accepting average work at the start and understanding that every rough draft precedes the finished masterpiece. The anatomy of analysis paralysis. When anxiety takes the wheel, it alters our perception of priorities and capabilities. Faced with a challenge, an anxious mind doesn't just see the first step that needs to be taken. It sees the entire project stretching into the future, along with every possible ramification, errors, judgments, and failures that might occur. In the corporate world and psychology, this phenomenon is known as analysis paralysis. You analyze so much, plan so extensively, and anticipate so many scenarios that your brain burns through all its available energy before you even type the first line or move the first box. In this sense, perfectionism acts as a psychological shield. We think, asterisk, if I deliver something absolutely perfect, no one can criticize me, no one will judge me, and I'll be safe. Asterisk, but the quest for this absolute security is a trap. Since perfection is an abstract and unattainable concept, the task becomes an insurmountable mountain. The result? Procrastination. We put things off not because we are lazy, but because we fear facing our own vulnerability and the possibility of delivering something that isn't brilliant right off the bat. The redemption of average work. Accepting that you can do something in an average way doesn't mean embracing mediocrity forever or becoming a sloppy professional. It actually means understanding the natural order of learning and execution. Nothing is born finished. A building doesn't start with the facade's finishing touches. It begins by digging a hole in the ground and dealing with dirt and raw concrete to create the foundation. When you allow yourself to start without the pressure to be brilliant, a huge weight is lifted off your shoulders. In the workplace, for instance, it is infinitely better to deliver a simple, direct, and functional first version on time than to delay delivery for weeks while waiting for a stroke of genius or trying to anticipate every minute detail. That initial, average work serves as a concrete foundation. Once the structure is standing and visible, your brain shifts from survival mode to refinement mode. It is far easier to fix, adjust, and polish something that already exists in the real world than to try to perfect an abstract idea that exists only in your imagination. The burden of expectations at home. This same cruel dynamic of perfectionism often invades our homes. We look at our domestic routines and set unrealistic standards for ourselves, influenced by images of spotless homes and perfectly organized lives we see on our screens. We want to keep the house at a level of order that demands time and energy we simply don't have right now. If the rule is, I'll only clean the house if I can do a 5-hour deep clean, the house will likely remain messy and your anxiety will grow by the day. The accumulation of visual chaos creates even more mental noise. The smart approach is to break free from this all-or-nothing mindset. A quick 10 or 15-minute tidy-up, simply gathering scattered items and organizing your workspace, completely shifts the room's energy and brings a sense of relief. Letting go of the pressure to keep things perfect allows us to live in a more welcoming space, where the focus isn't on museum-like rigidity, but on the comfort of a functional home. From pressure to improvement, shifting your mindset. The real breakthrough happens when we manage to transform the nature of our motivation. That pressure stems from fear, fear of criticism, mistakes, rejection, or the feeling of not being good enough. Improvement, on the other hand, stems from curiosity and the pleasure of watching something evolve. When you operate under the pressure of self-imposed demands, every mistake is viewed as proof that you aren't good enough. This creates a cycle of frustration that fuels anxiety and makes you want to give up at the first sign of trouble. However, when you focus on improvement, the meaning of a mistake changes. It becomes merely a technical data point, practical feedback showing you exactly where an adjustment is needed. Whether you're learning a new skill, mastering a new tool, or creating a process from scratch, the beginning will be awkward. And that's okay. The most experienced professionals in the field only achieved excellence because they had the courage to go through the phase of mediocre performance. They made plenty of mistakes, adjusted quickly, and kept moving forward. The desire to improve what you're already doing is a light, sustainable, long-term engine, whereas excessive self-pressure is fuel that burns out the motor and leaves you stranded at the start of the journey. A practical guide to defusing anxiety and taking action. If you find yourself stuck in some area of your life today, trying to find the perfect amount of courage or the flawless plan to get started, here are some practical, realistic, and easy-to-apply strategies to break the paralysis. The 5-minute rule. Commit to working on the stalled task for just 5 minutes. Set a timer. Write a single sentence, organize one row of a spreadsheet, or put away 3 items. Most of the time, the hardest part is overcoming initial inertia. Once your brain realizes the task isn't a monster, the workflow happens much more naturally. Write a rough draft. When creating a text, planning a project, or designing a solution, intentionally create the worst possible version. Write in a messy way, full of errors, without worrying about aesthetics or what others might think. The goal here is simply to get the idea out there. Cleaning and polishing the text is a job for your tomorrow's self. Your today's self's job is just to bring it into existence. Swap the concept of success for consistency. Instead of evaluating your day based on the perfection of what you delivered, evaluate it based on the fact that you showed up and did something, no matter how small. Taking a 2-centimeter step every single day gets you much further than planning a 10-meter leap you never have the courage to take. Break down your micro goals. Looking at the entirety of a goal triggers immediate anxiety. If your focus is learning to code or changing careers, your mind will freeze because the objective is too vast. Narrow the scope until the goal fits in your pocket. Make the code display a simple message on the screen today, or review a single section of my resume. Practice operational self-compassion. Accept that there will be days when your energy is low and your output on those days will naturally be simpler. Doing something at 30% of your maximum capacity is still far better than doing 0%. Respect your current pace without stopping the momentum. Excellence is a process, not an event. No highly successful operating system was launched in its final, perfect version. They start with beta versions, full of minor flaws that get fixed as people use them. We need to adopt this same mindset regarding our lives and careers. You are a project undergoing constant updates. True maturity and growth emerge when we stop demanding robotic perfection from ourselves and embrace our human nature of continuous learning. Quiet the noise of self-criticism in your head, take a deep breath, lower the bar of judgment, and simply take the next step with what you have available right now. The perfect finish, the elegance of the process, and the high performance are not the starting point. They are the inevitable result for those who had the courage to begin simply, calmly, and consistently.